So I'm not really sure where I'm going to go in this video. And I don't necessarily have solutions for what I'm going to talk about now, but I just wanted to come on here and share some learning that I've been doing with my mentor. So these have been sessions focused on understanding some of the deep-rooted fears that I hold, maybe how they're holding me back from success in not just my YouTube, but in other realms of my life. And also just through doing some self-reflection, I think I might have uncovered something, which is that on some level I am portraying a fake personality, or how I go about my day-to-day life. I am wearing some kind of mask, that this is not necessarily who I am deep down, which is a tough concept to even define. But it feels like I'm wearing some kind of mask around other people as a way of protecting myself, really. Protecting myself from a certain kind of harm. And that's what I want to talk about today. So, I guess I'll start with this very vivid memory that I have. One of my most painful memories. And this interestingly came up as I was doing some writing on this particular topic. Like what am I hiding from people? Where does it feel like I'm pretending? If I'm pretending, there's something that I'm trying to kind of run away from, or I don't want people to see. So this was the topic of the writing, and this memory came up. So I had this group of friends in university, and for the most part, a good group of guys. And at the time, pretty unlike anyone who I'd hung out with before. I was not popular in school and bounced around a lot of different friend groups, never really settled, always struggled for quality friends. And I would view myself as like more, I got bullied, I was kind of unpopular, I had a rough time in school. And I'd say this group of guys that I found in university, who I was kind of just living around them, we became friends. They were very popular, very social, very confident and outgoing guys. Not all of them, but it felt like I fell into this group by chance almost. Like they were not necessarily my kind of people, but we got on and we go along to like lots of different parties. Really my first time being exposed to this exciting social life, feeling kind of like, it sounds a bit cringe, but important, I guess. And I don't really see any of these guys now. And I suppose if any of them are watching, I don't hold any malice towards any of you, I don't think less of you for what I'm about to say. But again, this is my space to air out how I'm feeling. I've always had this insecurity in all of my friend groups. This has felt like what my life experience has been. And maybe it's like a deep-rooted belief for me that no matter what I do, it's only a matter of time before I end up sinking to the bottom of like a hierarchy. By hierarchy, I mean like where everyone falls in a group. And a lot of people might think, what the fuck are you talking about? Like a hierarchy? What's this nerdy shit? A hierarchy in a group is not something that the people at the top would be aware of. It's not necessarily something they're conscious of. But in most friend groups, it felt like I felt like fairly expendable. Not just that, I felt like if someone was looking to get a laugh out of the rest of the group, they would target me and ridicule me, mock me. I've been bullied by certain friend groups I had in school. And you tolerate it. At the time I tolerated it because you're holding on to the belief that they're your friends, and also you don't want to be cast out, do you? And I've tolerated a lot of shit from people over the years because of that fear of going alone. And I thought I was past that by the time I got to university, but it felt like we kind of all started off on an even playing field. But at some point I just fell into that role again, being the bottom of the barrel in this friend group, getting rinsed, getting the piss taken out of me. And that led to me kind of becoming, I was on guard. I felt like I was under threat. Someone could take the piss out of me at any time. Someone could use me for an easy laugh. And so I became like a much more reserved version of myself. I started weighing up every single word that I could potentially say because I'm worried it's going to come back on me. I'm going to get mocked. So I fall into the background even more. And I think certain people in this group realized that they could do that. They could disrespect me. And there wouldn't be any repercussions. I've always struggled with confrontation. It's not something that I learned growing up. I still really struggle with this now. And this is very relevant to what I'm about to say, but the most painful memory I ever had, I was at a party and one of these guys I see, he's like at the top of the group. He's drunk. I'm drunk too, but I'm obviously sober enough for this to really sink in, cut deep. He comes over to me and what he says to me is, first of all, he starts saying something to me about this girl who I lost my virginity to. So this girl on campus I've been seeing, she was my first, and you know, you want to look upon that experience as special. It oftentimes isn't, but for me it was special at the time. And he comes over to me and starts going on about, oh, you know, she's been saying all these things about you behind your back, but not in a way of like a friend. In a way of like, look, you let her embarrass you. And he starts coming over to me and he's saying, you know, you need to be more confident, you know, this and this. But again, not from like a position of like friendship or like loyalty. It's like, it's patronizing. And after that, he says something about my current girlfriend. Or my ex, I'm not with her now, but my girlfriend, my first serious relationship, a girl who I was in love with. And he says to me, you know, I've seen your girlfriend, Tom. You can do better. And I'm just kind of lost for words. And I feel crushed. I feel emasculated. I'm trying not to let it show, but I feel like I've been punched. Punched straight in the gut. And more than anything, I'm frustrated at myself. I'm frustrated for not feeling angry. I don't feel angry, I feel completely defeated. And I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed that I'm letting this happen to me without any fight. Without standing up to him. Even like throwing a punch or something. But I didn't, I kind of just stood there and just nodded. And some people might say to me, you know, you did the mature thing, but I'm just not hearing any of that because I know what the intention was. And for me, the reason I didn't say anything, it wasn't to keep the peace necessarily, it was because I was just flawed. I'd just been completely disrespected. and had my ego crushed. Because at this point, this is when I was starting to think, I'm different to how I was in school. I'm not the kind of guy who just takes shit from everyone. But I had this all wiped out, like the illusion of progress, that I've changed. Completely wiped away. And I went back to my girlfriend that night and I couldn't even look her in the eye. And for months and months after that, it would just come to me, like we'd be together and it would come to me and I'd feel deeply ashamed. I couldn't stand up for myself, so how could I stand up for you, I'm a coward, I'm weak. And if you knew this about me, you would leave me. That's how I felt. So I guess what I wanted to talk about, because there's a reason all of this came up, is it feels like I've almost adapted my personality since then. I've kind of evolved into a people pleaser, but not in the traditional sense, like not in terms of I'm really agreeable for the sake of avoiding confrontation. I'd say that experience was so painful that I've almost like changed myself. I've almost like changed my outward appearance and my energy, the way I try and come across. And undoubtedly these are some of the things I've been teaching in these videos or sharing. I don't want to say the word teaching because, I'm like, obviously I don't know as much as I thought I did. But that's not to say all of this is useless or the things I'm about to say didn't help me, but it's understanding where it came from. That this experience was so painful that I kind of optimized how I am, how I interact with people to avoid encountering that type of pain again. And this is what I think is really interesting. Because I think my mentor pointed this out to me. He said it's like the things I describe to him, the things I do. He said something like, it's almost like you've taken traits from this particular group at university. Because I think at that point I looked upon these guys as like, not only are they cool, not only are they popular and social and admired, it's like they're also quick-witted. Someone tries to make fun of them, they shut them down. They know the right thing to say, they're not afraid of confrontation. So not only did I look at them as like, they're cool, I want to be like them, they also knew how to like not get disrespected or to not even experience that type of pain that I did. I think I've conditioned myself to be more like that. And what do I mean by that? I think when I'm around new people, I'm almost pretending, I've almost got this fake personality, which is someone who's loud, someone who takes up a lot of social space. When I'm having fun, I want people to know I'm having the most fun. There's times when I want people to think I'm like a bit of a party boy almost. It's this kind of illusion of like, if I think people can see I'm having fun, then does that mean that people, they think I don't care? I'm hard to get to. I'm not sensitive. I'm not someone you can just target. Because by nature, and I know there's so many different layers of who we are, like we can't just define it in one sentence, but I know my nature is like, I'm thoughtful, I'm quiet. I'm quite a sensitive person. And I don't handle confrontation that well. And I think whilst I've improved with how I respond to conflict, that has improved. clearly I've decided to almost like change aspects of myself rather than addressing that root cause. Changed aspects of myself into what I believe is someone who's less likely to be targeted. I'm trying to be like more dominant, control the energy in social situations, and try and come across as someone who's hard to hurt. I'm trying to see if I've got anything else written down. But I remember feeling like, and I was aware of these changes as they were happening, but I remember feeling like this is the only way. This is the only way it can be, because when I've been myself around other people, this kind of quiet, introspective guy, even when it started off well, it's always been a matter of time before people have just rejected me and left me. And maybe that's who I'm afraid of people seeing, like this guy who is kind of like sensitive, and I guess it's a little bit different for men, because these are not always traits that are like embraced by others. I'm not really sure what more to say, because at present I don't have the solutions for this, other than trying to pick up on where I'm entering this kind of like pretender, performative state. Because at the moment I am kind of caught in this validation loop, because this has been working for me. Trying to like put on a show for others almost. Be one of the loudest, most energetic guys in the room. I can do that now. I'm still an introvert, but I can do that. I can put on this face. And I've kind of started to believe this is like, okay, this is who I am now. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with being like that, but it's the intention. Because I know this is coming from like, this is me running away. This is me hiding from some kind of fear that I have of being hurt. And I'm looking for that way to just kind of exist in myself, like be comfortable, just do whatever feels natural. This is getting a little bit philosophical right now, so apologies if it's not really like that helpful, but I guess I'm kind of just exploring this and what it means for me. Because it is a burden. It is a burden. Because like I said, I'm caught in this validation loop of this works, and I'm rewarded with like, you know, I've made more friends. I've probably increased my social status. I've been with more women from doing this. So the reward seems to be there. But when it doesn't go well, it's just crushing. When I get ignored, I immediately default to like, why did you even try? You know, you're back where you started. You're back at the bottom of the group. How could you ever think you could be any different? So it's challenging. I'm making it sound maybe like a bit worse than it is, but it is a bit of a struggle. But I'll end the video here. Hopefully you found some of this relatable. I really like when you guys leave me comments. I know I have like a fairly small audience, but I love that some of you are willing to take the time out of your day to comment things, and if there's anything you want to share in relation to this, I'd love to read it. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.